Maybe the most beautiful piece from the entire Super Mario 64 soundtrack wasn't even in the game. It was a bonus that if you bought the Super Mario 64 soundtrack album on CD, you would find an additional track that never made the game. And that is a piano version of this, which you might remember. I feel like this is just such a core memory for so many of us. This was one of Super Mario 64 is one of the few games that I grew up with. I've said before I didn't really grow up with video games, and we did have an N64, and I did have Super Mario 64, and so a lot of this soundtrack is just like, yeah, super core memory for me, which is unusual. I feel like a lot of times we talk about video games on the channel, and it's stuff that I'm discovering for the first time, but not this. But I tell you what I did discover for the first time, and that is the fact that there is a piano version of this that was only available if you bought the album. It's a little slower. Beautiful. So, we have this written out so that we can take a look at it. So I wrote out what is actually being played, and then I also wrote out the chords because I think it's really cool to just look at what Koji Kondo was thinking and how this whole thing is constructed and how it is such a simple yet perfect chord progression. Every part of this, from the melody to the chords, it just all blends so well together and just takes you on a very predictable journey, but predictable in like the best way. It's just so satisfying to our ears. It goes like this. I mean, so this is 16 bars, right? And it is perfect call and response. Like, absolutely perfect call and response. Because we have, if we take the chords out of it, we have the melody, which essentially just goes... right? And then this is our response. If there was ever a perfect example of call and response, it is right there at the end of each of those phrases. The first phrase ends with, and the second phrase ends with. I mean, that is literally the definition of call and response. By the way, if you want this sheet music, I'll make it a totally free download. Just I'll put a link in the description down below. As far as I can tell, this is pretty close, almost note for note to this version that we hear. So if you want to take a whack at learning it on the piano, go ahead, download that. Give it a shot. So we add those chords back in. We get C major 7 to D7. Now, this is in the key of G major, right? So when we play that C major 7, we're starting on our 4 chords. We go 4, 5, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. I mean, that's such a standard chord progression we always talk about. 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. Right? If we look at the key circle, this is perfectly going around the key circle from the 3 to the 6 to the 2 to the 5 to the 1. It's just going right around the circle. And this is going to serve pretty much as the basis for the entire thing. We do repeat that section. Let's take a listen to that. Little bit of embellishment that we don't have written here. We're kind of filling out a couple of those chords. But the melody's the same, chords are all the same. 2, 5, 1. Now we start into this section. It's just kind of a development on that theme. Right? Let's take a listen to what's going on there. And so here we're doing the exact same harmonic progression. C major 7, D7, B minor 7, E minor 7, A minor 7, D7. It's the exact same thing as the beginning. Okay? Now, this is where things get a little different. Okay, that is probably the most interesting thing of the entire piece. That's absolutely beautiful. Let's look at what's going on there. So, notice we hang that root note on that C. So instead of playing it how we normally do, where we go from the C major 7 to the D7, we are going to a D7, but we're leaving the root note on C. Okay? Now that creates an even more heightened sense of like, it's like very suspenseful here. And then we do not give ourselves a resolution because we go immediately to a new chord. That right there. Okay, so here's what that is. Actually, wow, I'm just thinking about this now. It is not necessarily new. We've changed the function of these chords, okay? Now, here's what I mean. In the beginning, we went C, D7, B minor 7 to E minor 7. Look at what we're doing here. C to D7, but we're keeping that there. This is a B chord, and that's an E minor chord. So the root motion or the general harmonic direction hasn't actually changed, but instead of using a minor 7 chord on that 3 on this B minor, instead of using that, going to E minor 7, we're now using B7. So we flipped it major, and our melody is creating a flat 9. And what that does, it creates a whole new sense of suspense, and it really pulls us to want to resolve to that E minor. Okay? But we're not done yet, because our next thing is this is a new chord entirely. This is like a B. I'm looking at this as like a B diminished chord using F as the root. It's a little different. And it almost feels like when we hit that E minor 7, it almost feels like, okay. We're sort of releasing a little bit, but without necessarily getting a full-blown resolution. That chord is so interesting to me for a number of reasons, because where we're going next is pretty much back to the beginning. Being an E-flat diminished chord, I'm just assuming if we were to fill it out, we would probably get an A there. That chord doesn't necessarily imply that we're going to resolve to C major 7. Now, maybe what we're... okay. How about we think about it this way? We know the whole thing is in G major. So if we have... This is very interesting. So if you just take this structure and we put a D on the bottom, we do get what essentially is a D7 with a flat 9. And that absolutely would pull us to resolve to G major, right? That would function perfectly well as a 5 chord to land on G major, but we know that it starts on the 4 chord. It starts on C major 7. So we forego a resolution in this case and just go right back to the start of our cycle on C major 7. So what is this chord? I have it written here as an E flat diminished because, well, the notes are implying that that's what it is. And we're coming from E minor 7, so we're getting this little chromatic movement. You could imagine maybe it continues chromatically and resolves to G major, but with the 5th in the bass. I mean, that's certainly possible, but that's not what we do. We go to C major 7. So what is that really? I don't know. I mean, let's back up a little bit. Let's go back to our hang up on that C and then B7 flat 9. resolved to an E minor, and then it's so interesting. I would call this maybe the least obvious part of this piece, in that it's, I wouldn't go as far as to call it unconventional, but it is definitely like the most interesting section, I think, because it does leave me going, well, what exactly is that movement? I mean, it is, E flat diminished, but then just going to C major 7, and then we just continue, right? What a beautiful, beautiful song. Lullaby is the perfect descriptor for this. It really is a lullaby. Something about that melody is very lullaby. But then to end the whole thing, we get this beautiful, flat 6, flat 7. And I gotta think, I assume this is Koji Kondo playing, which is super cool. That we get to hear that. I don't know that for sure, but I'm assuming. So that ending section is just, it's absolutely beautiful. And then instead of getting what we expect, which is a resolution to the 1, we get that is absolutely gorgeous. And for some reason, it is very evident there that we changed the time signature from 3/4 to 4/4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. What a beautiful touch at the end. Yeah, I don't know. There's just something that's inherently lullaby about it. I mean, the chords are very basic in that sense, and they just, I don't know, they sound lullaby-ish, but the melody to me is really what makes this. Something about like this line. It's perfect. And one of the cool things about this chord progression is it leaves so much for us to elaborate on. I mean, these chords can become very, you can definitely develop this a lot. Ooh, you know what I'm hearing here? Yeah, we could do like a 2/5 into it, even with like a chromatic lead in. Tritone sub. Oh man, yeah, but I think part of what makes it so brilliant is the fact that Koji Kondo didn't do that. You don't want to keep your child awake through the entire night just by slamming way more involved chords. He's like, hey, listen to this. You could sleep through that, right? I just think it's so fascinating that like this wasn't even in the game. And it might be the most beautiful piece of the entire soundtrack. But I want to know from you, what other pieces from the soundtrack do you think make Super Mario 64 so memorable? Let me know in the comments below, and who knows, we'll talk about it again sometime in the near future. But for now, I just wanted to cover it. I thought it'd be fun. If you want this sheet music, you can have it for free. I'll put a link in the description down below. You can go ahead and download it. So yeah, give it a try yourself, see if you can't learn it on the piano. But other than that, thanks for watching this video. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Month of Music. We will see you back here tomorrow.